is worse at chess than Hal. Now remember, the opposite of more is less. So we can also use less in comparatives. For example, Fritz is more tired than Steve. Means the same as Steve is less tired than Fritz. Let's do another review. This time we will review comparatives. Sylvia, who is smarter, you or your brother?
My brother is smarter than me. He is older. He has studied more.
Okay, thank you. Alberto, are tulips prettier than roses?
I love tulips. I think tulips are prettier than the roses.
Okay. Linda, which is more interesting, art or English?
English is more interesting than art. Art is less interesting than English.
Good job, everyone. Now, this is a better time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
I am sadder than my mother. A cheetah is faster than a turtle. Jacob is less boring than his brother. This room is quieter than that room.
Read and repeat.
Now let's review superlatives. A superlative is the absolute of something. It's saying something is the most in a group. Let's look at some examples. Mount Blanc isn't the tallest mountain in the world. American women are the most beautiful women in the world. Mount McKinley is the highest mountain in the U.S. French roses are the prettiest roses in Europe. So superlative is an adjective which expresses the highest degree. Okay. So it expresses the highest degree of a certain quality. As with comparatives, there are many rules with superlatives. So for one syllable adjectives, we add est. For example, the Nile is the longest river in the world. Now, of course, for some one-syllable adjectives, the consonant is doubled, like in the comparatives. So when the word ends in a vowel and a consonant, you double the consonant. For example, Russia is the biggest country in the world. Okay, for two-syllable words, we add the most in the superlative. For two or more syllable words. For example, the pyramids are the most important landmarks in Egypt. And of course, for adjectives ending in Y, in the superlative form, the Y becomes I, and then you add est. For example, the Swiss are the friendliest people in the world. And of course, like comparatives, there are some irregular superlatives. For example, good in the superlative form becomes the best. For example, Italian food is the best food in the world. I'm sure Alberto would agree with that. And then bad in the superlative becomes the worst. For example, American beer is the worst beer in North America. Okay. Now the opposite of the most is the least. Also a superlative. So we can say, for example, souvenirs at JFK Airport are the least expensive in the U.S. Now we're ready to practice superlatives. Alberto, you can go first. What is the largest country in Africa?
I don't know. Is it Egypt?
Do you know, Sylvia?
Yes, I do. The Sudan is the largest country in Africa.
Very good. Linda, what is the most difficult language to learn in Europe?
I think German is the most difficult. Spanish is the least difficult.
Okay, good. Alberto, I will give you another one. Who is the prettiest girl in Italy?
My mother is the prettiest girl in Italy.
Okay, I'm sure she is. Thank you, everyone. Now, this is the best time to look and listen.
Look and listen.
The Mississippi is the longest river in the United States. The New York Times is the most interesting newspaper in the world. Seneca Lake is the deepest lake in the United States. French perfume is the best perfume in the world.
Read and repeat.
Now, let's quickly review. There is and there are, to show that something exists. For example, there are 4 chairs in the kitchen. There is a new stove. There are 4 plants in the living room. There is a new book on the table. So there are and there is give information. They can also be used in the negative. For example, there aren't 4 chairs in the kitchen. There isn't a new stove. There aren't 4 plants in the living room. There isn't a book on the table. There is and there are can also be used in positive and negative question forms. Take a look at some examples. Are there 4 chairs in the kitchen? Isn't there a new stove? Aren't there 4 plants in the living room? Isn't there a book on the table? Okay. We're also going to review some. Remember, we can use some for both count and non-count nouns. For example, there are some chairs in the living room. There was some noise in the